I'm 32M. Have a decent job in logistics. Nothing glamorous, but it pays the bills and then some. Married for about 5 years to my wife, Sophia. When we met, things were great, or at least I thought they were. She was smart, funny, passionate about her beliefs. I liked that. I thought I'd found the one. Fast forward to a few months ago, and the picture is completely different. I feel like I'm living with a stranger who also happens to be my parole officer. Everything I do is wrong or not good enough or somehow evidence of some deep-seated character flaw I wasn't aware I had. It's been a slow burn, this change. Over the last couple of years, she got really deep into online feminist circles. Not the kind that talks about equal pay or historical stuff, the new kind. The kind that has a whole new language of therapeutic and academic terms to describe why your boyfriend or husband is a toxic person. Every conversation we had started to feel like a minefield. I'd say something completely normal, and suddenly I'm being accused of gaslighting or invalidating her lived experience. I'm a simple guy. I move boxes for a living. I just wanted a peaceful home. Instead, I got a constant, unending performance review for the crime of being a man. I tried to keep up. I really did. I read the articles she sent me. I watched the video essays. I learned the vocabulary. I tried to be more considerate, more aware. I took on more chores around the house until I was doing basically all of them. Cooking, cleaning, laundry, groceries. I figured, hey, if this makes her happy and brings peace, it's worth it. Spoiler, it wasn't. Nothing was ever enough. The house would be spotless, but I'd have used the wrong non-eco-friendly cleaner on the countertops. I'd cook a 3-course meal, but I didn't preemptively ask if she was in the mood for Italian that night. So, my effort was actually a form of patriarchal assumption. I'm not exaggerating. This was my life. I felt like I was losing my mind, constantly walking on eggshells, waiting for the next lecture. The physical side of our relationship had also become a tool for her. It wasn't about connection or love anymore. It was a reward, a treat she'd dispense if I'd been a good boy all week. If I initiated, I was being pushy and not respecting her space. If I didn't, I was being distant and emotionally withdrawn, a classic catch-22. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. I think I'd had a brutal day at work. One of our trucks broke down. Shipment was delayed. Got chewed out by my boss, the whole 9 yards. All I wanted was to come home, eat something, and just exist. I knew Sophia had a rough week too. So I stopped at the store on the way home. I picked up ingredients for her favorite meal, a specific kind of pasta with a creamy mushroom sauce. It's the meal she always said made her feel better. I spent a solid hour in the kitchen sautéing the mushrooms, making the sauce from scratch, cooking the pasta perfectly al dente. I even lit a couple of candles on the dinner table. Cheesy, I know, but I was trying. I was always trying. Sophia gets home about 20 minutes after I'm done. She walks into the kitchen, looks at the plate I made for her, and just sigh. It wasn't a normal sigh. It was a sigh of profound disappointment and exhaustion. Derek, really? Pasta? I was confused. Yeah, it's your favorite. I thought you could use a pick-me-up. She shakes her head, not looking at me, already scrolling through her phone. You know I'm cutting out complex carbs. I've been talking about it all week. It's like you don't listen to a word I say. I stood there holding a spatula covered in sauce. I genuinely had no memory of her saying this. She probably mentioned it once in passing while I was trying to figure out how to fix the leaky faucet she'd been complaining about for a month. She proceeds to make herself a saddle-looking salad with some lettuce and a few slices of cucumber. She ate it, standing over the counter, phone in hand, while my carefully prepared meal got cold on the table. I didn't say anything. I just took her plate, scraped it into the trash, and did the dishes. Something inside me just went quiet. It wasn't anger. It was more like a switch being flipped, a light going out. I realized in that moment that my efforts didn't matter. The result was always going to be the same. I was always going to be wrong. So why keep trying? The next evening was the announcement. We were sitting on the couch watching a show, which meant the TV was on, while she scrolled through social media. Suddenly, she puts her phone down and turns to me with a serious expression. I braced myself for another lecture. Derek, she began in her calm, therapeutic voice that always preceded a new rule. I've been doing a lot of reading and self-reflection about autonomy and the weaponization of intimacy in relationships. Oh boy, here we go. I've decided that for my own mental health and to reclaim my bodily autonomy, we need to restructure our physical relationship. I just stared at her, waiting for the punchline. From now on, intimacy will be on a schedule once every 7 days. And that's conditional. Conditional on what? I asked, my voice flat. Conditional on me feeling safe, seen, and respected. You have to earn it. You need to demonstrate through your actions during the week that you're a supportive partner. Consider it a performance evaluation. She actually said that performance evaluation. She sat back, a smug look on her face. She thought she was dropping a bombshell. She was expecting me to argue, to get angry, to plead. She was ready for a fight, armed with a dozen buzzwords to shut me down, but I was still feeling that quiet from the night before. I looked at her. I saw the whole dynamic laid bare. This wasn't about her autonomy. It was about power, complete and total power over me, and I was just tired. So tired of the game. I took a breath, and then I gave the one answer she never expected. Okay, just that one word. Her smug expression faltered. Okay, that's it. Yeah, okay, I understand. Your terms are acceptable. I picked up the remote, turned up the volume on the TV, and went back to watching the show. The silence from her side of the couch was deafening. I could feel her staring at me, her whole script thrown out the window. I didn't give the fight she wanted. I didn't give her any emotion at all. I just agreed. I accepted the terms of my new employment. And in that moment, I clocked out. The first day of the new regime was a Wednesday. I woke up at my usual time. I went to the kitchen. Normally, the first thing I do is make 2 cups of coffee, one for me, one for her, exactly how she likes it. I'd bring it to her in bed. That morning, I made 1 cup for me. I drank it while getting ready for work. When I was about to leave, she was still in bed, probably expecting her coffee service. I just poked my head into the bedroom and said, "Have a good day," in the most neutral tone I could manage. I didn't wait for a reply. I just left. All day at work, I felt lighter. I wasn't spending my mental energy worrying about what I'd done wrong or what new complaint would be waiting for me at home. I just focused on my job. I joked with the guys. I had a normal day. When I got home, she was already there sitting on the couch. She looked up at me expectantly. "How was your day?" she asked. It was a test. She wanted me to engage, to tell her about my troubles so she could offer some condescending analysis. "It was fine," I said, walking past her to the kitchen. Productive. I didn't ask about her day. That wasn't in my job description anymore. I made myself a sandwich for dinner. Just one. I ate it, cleaned my plate, and then went to my computer in the spare room. I put on my headphones and played some video games with a friend online for a few hours. Later, I came out and she was still on the couch stewing. "So, you're just not going to talk to me?" she snapped. "I'm not sure what you mean," I replied calmly. "I'm just relaxing after work. I don't want to intrude on your space. Boundaries, right?" Using her own language against her, her face was a picture of frustration. She couldn't argue with it. She went to bed angry. I slept on the couch, not because of a fight, but because I just felt like it. It was peaceful. Day 2 was much the same. 1 cup of coffee, a polite but distant good morning. I did my share of the chores. I took out the trash, emptied the dishwasher. I was a good roommate. But I didn't do her laundry that was sitting in the hamper. I didn't pick up the special brand of almond milk she likes when I went to the store. I bought groceries for myself, my food, my drinks. It sounds petty, but it wasn't about being mean. It was about a fundamental shift. My job was no longer to anticipate her every need and want. My only official duty, according to her, was to pass a weekly performance review. Everything else was optional, and I was opting out. She started to notice. That evening, she came to me while I was reading a book. "There's no almond milk for my smoothie tomorrow," she said, her arms crossed. "I noticed that," I said, not looking up from my book. "Aren't you going to go get some?" I finally looked up at her. "No, I'm not. The store is still open if you want to go." The shock on her face was incredible. I had never in 5 years of marriage said no to a request like that. "What is your problem, Derek?" she said, her voice rising. "I don't have a problem, Sophia. I'm just tired. I'm respecting the new structure of our relationship. You wanted a partner who performs tasks for a reward. You didn't say constant unpaid personal assistant was part of the deal." She stormed off, muttering about passive-aggressive nonsense. I went back to my book. For the first time in years, I felt a sense of peace in my own home. The weekend was the real test. Saturdays were usually our day. We'd do errands together, maybe go for a walk, cook a nice meal. I woke up early on Saturday, went to the gym, a thing I used to do before I met her, but stopped because she complained it took up too much time. Came back, showered, and was about to head out to meet a friend for lunch. "Where are you going?" she asked, standing in the doorway of the living room. "Out grabbing a bite with Mark," I said, putting on my shoes. "You didn't ask me if I wanted to do something," she said. It wasn't a question. It was an accusation. "I assumed you had your own plans. I'm trying to be less presumptive about your time, giving you your space." Every time I used her logic, it was like a brick wall she couldn't get past. She was trapped in the cage she had built for me, and she was starting to hate it. I spent most of the day out of the house. I had a great time with my friend. We talked about work, sports, stupid stuff. He didn't analyze my every word. It was just easy. He asked how things were with Sophia. I was vague, but I told him she'd set up a new system for our relationship. He's a blunt guy. He just said, "Dude, sounds like she thinks she's your boss. Don't work for free." It was the most validating thing I'd heard in months. When I got home that evening, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Sophia had clearly been stewing all day. She'd tried a new tactic. She'd cleaned the entire apartment, like deep cleaned, and she had cooked dinner, a big elaborate meal, the kind of thing I used to do for her. "I thought we could have a nice dinner," she said with a strange smile. "Looks great," I said, "but I already ate with Mark. I'm stuffed, thanks though." I saw her smile twitch. I knew exactly what she was doing. She was trying to do my old job to show me how it's done. What, to make me feel guilty? But I just didn't feel anything. It was like watching a movie. I grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge and went to the spare room. This was day 4 of the 7-day cycle, the halfway point. Her confidence was gone. Now she was confused and starting to get desperate. On Sunday, day 5, she tried to get a reaction out of me in a different way. We were in the same room, her on her laptop, me on mine. She started laughing loudly at something on her screen. "Oh my God, this is hilarious," she said, trying to bait me into asking. I didn't bite. I just kept typing. A few minutes later, wow, Luna is having the wildest drama with this guy she's seeing. It's unbelievable. Luna was her best friend. Normally, I'd have to listen to a 30-minute breakdown of Luna's love life. I just grunted in acknowledgement. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. She snapped her laptop shut. "Can you please stop this?" She said. "Stop what?" This cold shoulder thing. You're acting like a robot. I'm trying to connect with you." I turned to face her fully. "Sophia, let me be very clear. I am following the rules that you set. Our relationship is now transactional. You define the terms of the transaction. Intimacy in exchange for a week of satisfactory performance. We are currently in the middle of a performance period. Casual conversation and emotional connection were not listed as required duties." This is insane. You're twisting my words. I'm not. I'm taking them literally. You wanted to set boundaries. You wanted a different kind of relationship. This is it. I'm respecting your wishes to the letter. She threw her hands up in the air. "I can't talk to you when you're like this." She went into the bedroom and slammed the door. I stayed in the living room. The silence she left behind was comfortable. I realized that for years, her emotional state had dictated the atmosphere of the entire house. If she was unhappy, everyone had to be unhappy. Now her unhappiness was her own. It was contained in that bedroom. It couldn't touch me anymore. I think that's when she started to realize the true nature of the power she'd lost. It wasn't just the power to grant or withhold affection. It was the power to control my emotional state. And without that, she had nothing. The next day was Monday, day 6. The vibe in the apartment was awful. She was radiating misery. She tried to apologize. Sort of. "Look, maybe I was a little harsh the other day," she said while I was getting my keys to leave for work. "It's fine. Don't worry about it," I said, my hand on the doorknob. "No, I feel like maybe we should talk about this whole 7-day rule. Maybe it was a bad idea." She was offering an out, a return to the old way. A few weeks ago, I would have jumped at the chance. I would have been flooded with relief. But standing there, I felt nothing. The old way was gone. The switch had been flipped, and it didn't seem to have a reverse. The rule is fine, Sophia, I told her. It's clear. It's straightforward. I appreciate knowing exactly what the expectations are. It's less confusing this way. And then I left for work. I knew that my response would probably destroy her. She wasn't offering to get rid of the rule because she thought it was wrong. She was offering because it wasn't working. Her weapon was a dud. She wasn't trying to fix our relationship. She was trying to get her control back, and I wasn't going to give it to her. I spoke to my friend Mark again that night. I told him a bit more about what was happening. He was quiet for a bit, and then he said something that stuck with me. It sounds like for years you were the only one holding up the roof. You just decided to let go, and now she's shocked that it's heavy. That was it exactly. I had been the emotional support beam for the entire relationship. I absorbed her moods, managed her expectations, did all the emotional labor, and I was done. I had let go of the roof. If it came crashing down, it wasn't my problem anymore. I was just a tenant, a roommate, an employee waiting for his performance review on day 7. Tuesday morning, day 7, Judgment Day. I woke up on the couch again. I'd been sleeping there all week. It was more comfortable than the tense silence of the bedroom. I got up and went through my morning routine. 1 cup of coffee, a quick breakfast of toast and eggs. Sophia came into the kitchen while I was eating. She was wearing one of my old shirts, something she used to do back when things were good. A calculated move. "Morning," she said, her voice soft and a little too cheerful. "Morning," I replied, not looking up from my plate. She made a big show of making coffee for herself, chattering about her plans for the day. "Luna and I were thinking of checking out that new art exhibit this weekend. You should come. I think you'd like it." I just shrugged. "I've already got plans." "Oh," she said, her fake cheer faltering for a second with Mark again. "Yep, I finished my breakfast, rinsed my plate, and put it in the dishwasher." As I was heading for the door, she stepped in front of me. "Have a good day at work," she said, and she tried to kiss me. I turned my head slightly so it landed on my cheek. It felt cold. "You too," I said. And then I walked around her and left. The entire day, I felt a strange sense of calm. I knew what was coming, the final act of the play she'd written. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't excited. I was just an audience member waiting for the curtain to fall. I got home a little after 6 p.m. The moment I walked in, I could tell she'd been busy. The apartment was immaculate. There were candles lit, soft music was playing. The smell of something good was coming from the kitchen. She was cooking for the second time in a week after years of me doing it almost exclusively. She came out of the kitchen wearing a dress I hadn't seen in a long time. She had done her hair and makeup. She was putting in the effort. The final performance for the review. "Hey, you," she said, smiling. "I'm making that chicken dish you like. It'll be ready in about half an hour." "Okay," I said. I went and sat on the couch, picked up a magazine, and started flipping through it. She seemed a bit thrown off that I wasn't fawning over her efforts. She busied herself in the kitchen, making a lot of noise, trying to get my attention. I just kept reading. We ate dinner at the table. It was fine. The food was good. She tried to make conversation. She asked me about work, about my friend Mark, about my plans for the gym. I gave her short, polite answers. I was a model employee being interviewed, professional, detached. I complimented the food. "This is very good. Thank you for making it." Her smile was tight. This wasn't the gushing praise she was used to getting from me after even the smallest effort. After dinner, I helped clear the plates. Again, just being a good roommate. We ended up on the couch. The music was still playing. The mood she was trying to create was so thick you could cut it with a knife. She slid closer to me. "So," she said, her voice low, "it's Tuesday." "It is," I confirmed. She put a hand on my knee. "The end of the 7 days." "Yep." She took a deep breath, ready for her closing argument. "I think you did well this week, Derek. You've been thoughtful. You've been respecting my space. You've given me a lot of autonomy." She was actually grading my performance. I almost had to laugh. "I've decided that you've earned it," she whispered, leaning in closer. This was the moment, the grand prize, the reward for my week of good behavior. I didn't move. I just looked at her. Her face was full of expectation, a mix of smugness and a little bit of genuine desire. She'd been deprived of her power source for a week and she was desperate for a hit. I gently took her hand off my knee. I set it down on the cushion between us. "Thank you for the positive review, Sophia," I said, my voice perfectly level. "I appreciate the feedback." And then I added, "But I'm not interested." Her brain seemed to short circuit. It took a few seconds for the words to register. Her smile vanished. "What? What do you mean you're not interested?" "I mean what I said. I'm not interested in being intimate with you. But I said you earned it. This is your reward." She sounded genuinely confused, like a zookeeper trying to give a treat to an animal that's refusing to do the trick. "I understand the terms of the offer," I said, "and I'm declining. Thank you anyway." I saw a flash of anger in her eyes, quickly replaced by panic. "Is this a joke? Are you trying to punish me?" "Not at all," I said. "There's no emotion in this, Sophia. It's a simple decision. I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed." I stood up, her face crumpled. For the first time, I saw real, genuine fear in her eyes. "Derek, wait," she said, her voice cracking. "Don't do this." "Do what?" "I'm just going to sleep." "In the spare room?" she asked, her voice small. "Yes, I've been sleeping on the couch, but the bed in there is probably better for my back." I turned and walked toward the spare room. I didn't look back, but I could hear her start to cry. It wasn't the loud, performative crying she used during arguments. It was quiet, heartbroken sobbing. The sound didn't affect me. It was just noise. I closed the door to the spare room, and for the first time in a week, I slept in a real bed. I slept better than I had in years. The next morning, the war was over, and she knew she had lost. I came out to the kitchen, and she was sitting at the table looking like she hadn't slept at all. Her eyes were red and puffy. The confident, powerful woman from the start of the week was gone. "We need to talk," she said, her voice. I poured my 1 cup of coffee. "Okay, I want to take it back," she said. "The rule, the 7-day thing, all of it. It was a stupid, horrible idea. I'm sorry." It was the closest to a real apology I'd gotten from her in a long time. A year ago, it would have been everything I wanted to hear. Now it was just words. I leaned against the counter and took a sip of my coffee. "It's not about the rules, Sophia." She looked confused. "Of course it is. I was being controlling and I pushed you away. I see that now. You see that it didn't work." I corrected her. "That's different. The rule was just a symptom of the real problem." "What problem?" "The problem is that you don't see me as a partner. You see me as a project, something to be fixed, trained, and managed. You see our marriage not as a partnership, but as a power struggle. And you were so focused on winning that you never stopped to think about what you'd lose." I let that sink in. "You wanted to use intimacy as a weapon," I continued, "a tool to control me. You laid it all out, a performance review, a reward. You turned the most personal, vulnerable part of a relationship into a transaction. And you were shocked when I finally accepted the terms and started treating it like one." She started crying again. "I can fix it, Derek. We can fix it. We can go back." I shook my head slowly. "No, we can't. You can't unring that bell. You showed me exactly how you see me, and I believe you. The man you were married to, the one who would do anything to make you happy, the one who cooked your favorite meals while you criticized him, he's gone. He checked out last Tuesday when his efforts were thrown in the trash. So what now?" She whispered, "Do you want a divorce?" I thought about it for a moment. "No, I don't think so. That seems like a lot of paperwork and hassle. I'm fine with the current arrangement." "What arrangement?" she cried. "We're not even speaking." "Exactly," I said. "We're roommates. We share a living space. We're civil. We split the bills. It's simple. It's peaceful. It's the relationship you created, Sophia. The one based on rules and boundaries instead of love and respect. Congratulations. You got what you wanted." I finished my coffee, rinsed the cup, and went to get ready for work. The conversation was over. The weeks that followed were strange. We settled into a new quiet routine. I moved my things into the spare room permanently. It became my space. We barely spoke. A polite hello in the morning, a good night. If we happened to be in the same room in the evening, she tried at first. She would cook dinner and try to get me to eat with her. I'd always politely decline, saying I'd already eaten or had other plans. She would suggest watching a movie together. I'd say I had work to do or a book I wanted to read. Every attempt she made to bridge the gap was met with a calm, impenetrable wall of polite indifference. I wasn't being cruel. I wasn't ignoring her or giving her the silent treatment in a malicious way. I was simply treating her like a person I lived with, not the center of my universe. And the change in me was profound. With all the mental energy I was no longer spending on managing her moods, I had so much left over for myself. I started going to the gym consistently. I lost about 15 pounds. I reconnected with old friends I'd let drift away because she didn't like them. I started reading again. I worked on my car. I did things for me. I was becoming the person I was before I met her, but better, more confident, calmer. The house, which had once been a place of constant anxiety for me, was now just a place to sleep. My real life was happening outside of it. Sophia, on the other hand, was withering. She was the one who was constantly on edge. Now, she was the one walking on eggshells, trying to find the right thing to say or do to get a reaction from me, any reaction. The power she once wielded was gone, and she didn't know how to exist without it. I overheard her on the phone with her friend Luna one night. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but she was talking loudly in the living room. She was crying, complaining about how cold I was, how I wouldn't even look at her. I only heard Luna's side of the conversation in snippets, but it was clear her friend wasn't being as sympathetic as she used to be. I heard phrases like, "Well, what did you expect, Sophia?" And you can't treat someone like an employee and then be shocked when they act like one. And the killer? Maybe you should have thought about what he needed for once. The validation from her own friend, her own echo chamber, was gone. She was truly alone in the world she had created. The final nail in the coffin came about 2 months after the announcement. It was a Saturday. I was heading out to go on a weekend camping trip with Mark and a few other guys. I had my bag packed, grabbing my keys from the hook by the door. Sophia was standing there just watching me. She looked small. "You seem happy," she said. It was just an observation. There was no accusation in it, just sadness. "I am," I said the truth. "I miss you," she whispered, and a tear rolled down her cheek. "I miss my husband." I looked at her, and for the first time I felt a tiny flicker of something. Not love, not pity, just a dull ache, a memory of what we used to have. "I miss him too," I said. "You broke him, and I've been busy building something new from the pieces." I opened the door. "Have a good weekend, Sophia," I said without looking back. And then I closed the door behind me and walked out into the sunshine free. We still live in the same house. The lease isn't up for another 6 months. But I'm not her husband anymore. I'm just the guy who pays half the rent. She wanted a relationship on her terms. She got one. She wanted power. She has it. She's the queen of a kingdom of two, ruling over one very unhappy subject, herself. As for me, I'm just living my life. It turns out that when someone builds you a cage, the most powerful thing you can do isn't to rattle the bars. It's to realize the door was never locked in the first place and just quietly walk.
If this confession kept you hooked, make sure to subscribe, like, and share. We share powerful true stories every day that explore the complex realities of life.